Okay, today I'm going to do a video on how I cut and fit these aft deck planks on a 1958 19-foot Chris Craft Capri. These are the planks that I have laid out here for the aft deck of the boat. And if you'll notice, the deck seams on these planks, they aren't straight like on the forward deck. They match the arc of the boat. And I'm going to do a video on how I cut those in today. And what I did first was I fit the two outboard planks. This plank here, this is the port plank, and you can see there's two deck seams running along the center of it, and then there's also some rabbets, 1/8" rabbets cut on either side that are the deck seams. And then the inboard plank, it's just flush here and here with a deck seam running down the middle. So the first thing I had to do was lay out these outboard planks, and they're 7.5 inches wide. And what I had to do was I cut two new ones. First thing I did was cut and fit these to fit along the inboard edge of the covering board. And what I did was this plank up here, the forward deck is already on and it's glued down and screwed. Then this plank here and the side deck on both sides are on, and I cut and fit this little radius piece here. But I didn't glue them down because it would have been a lot. It's a lot easier to fit this plank without these already attached. If these were already attached to the boat where I couldn't take them up, to cut and fit this plank, I would have three sides that I'd have to be trying to fit to. And it's a lot easier to just go ahead and not install those yet, and then when I go and fit, I just have a block lifting this piece up here, and then I just have two sides to fit to, so that's a lot easier. So what I did was the first edge that I fit was this line here, and you could do that with a compass, or sometimes I use tape, and I got that to fit, and then I cut and fit this back here. And the way I did that was I just got a nice smooth line on here, laid it out, used a bandsaw and then sanding block. And then once I had this outboard edge nice and smooth, then I took an offset of 7.5 inches, and I had a tape line on this edge, and I just cut real close with a bandsaw, and then I took it to the spindle sander, and I had my tape on there. Blue tape so you can see the edge. I took it on the spindle sander and got right down to the tape line, and then to get that smooth, I just took a little block with 80 grit, put it in a vise, and just sanded it smooth. And it works out. That process, I think, works real nice to get a nice smooth line. So I did the two outboard planks of the aft deck. And then I ran this rabbet on the outboard edge and the aft edge on my router table here with the 1/8" rabbeting bit. So those two rabbets are in there. Now I have to cut the two center deck seams, and then I'll go ahead and I can cut this on this rabbet also on the router table. So these two are fit, and it's important to make sure that you have your layout of the two lines. So I went, and this is going to be an 1/8" rabbet here. So what it works out to be, it works out where it's 2 5/16 inch plus a 64th. Then your deck seam, your 1/8" saw cut, and then another 2 5/16 plus a 64th. It's a little bit over 2 5/16. So I got that that separation there measured exactly. And I was going to do it with an 1/8" router bit on my router table, but I thought it'd be easier to do it on a table saw. That's how I did the forward deck seams. So I have the table saw set up and I'm ready to run this. The blade is down right now, but I want to show you what I did here. I've got a couple of feather boards set up to hold this plank against the fence. Now this feather board right here, it's pretty much opposite of the top of the blade. You want this plank to be against the fence right over the blade. So you can see this is nowhere near a straight line. It's a gradual arc, and the blade's going to come up 1/8 of an inch, but I've got it down right now just so I can show you how I run this through. So I'm going to run this through. There's a little pressure on that feather board. It's a magnetic feather board. I have an extra magnet here and then a little clamp with a stick here holding that so it doesn't move over. And I've never done this before, but I think it's going to work. And I'm just going to run this through, light pressure, and I'm going to let if you watch, as this plank comes through, the arc keeps moving, and it keeps it against that fence roughly right over that blade. So I'm going to run it through just with light pressure, see how that works. I'll do that for both planks, and then I'll move the fence out to get the second deck seam. So we're going to give it a go here, see how it comes out. I'm going to raise the blade. I already know where it needs to go. This crank handle goes right straight up, lock it in place. So that blade is up about 1/8 of an inch, and we'll run it through and see what we get. I'm going to just concentrate on keeping this edge against the fence. Light pressure. Let the plank just kind of arc in there. So we'll see how we did. Looks pretty smooth. And that blade, it's only sticking up 1/8 of an inch. It's not like if that blade were up like, you know, an inch, or you were doing real thick stock, then you'd have a lot wider section right here into that. And when you made that, when this plank arced like that, I think it would make this 1/8 inch a lot wider. But since I'm only coming up 1/8 of an inch, there's only a little bit of that blade exposed, and on a gradual arc like this, I think it works well. So I'll do the other plank, and then I'll move the fence and do the other two cuts, and then I'll start the camera back up. All right? Okay, I ran both planks through on the table saw to cut these interior deck seams, and I also cut this deck seam on the inboard edge of each one on the router table. That's a rabbit. So this plank, these two outboard planks, they have 4 deck seams in it, 2 live ones and 2 fake deck seams running through the interior here. And then, so let's take them over and they came out real smooth. I used this outboard edge and just ran it against my table saw fence with those feather boards, and I think it worked just fine. So let's take them over to the boat. We'll set them on there. So these are done except for the fitting at the forward end, and I'll show you what I'm going to do there. So the outboard edges fit, the aft edges fit, the deck seams are cut. The next step on this plank is to cut it and fit it behind this this side deck plank. That's why I kept these planks loose. I could use them as a guide to cut this plank here. So that's the next step. I'll cut and fit this plank. I'll screw these 2 small planks down, cut and fit that, and well, I guess before I mount them for good, I'm going to cut and fit the inboard planks. This is the next plank to go on. This fits right here. This is the old one. And this plank, there's no rabbet joint here, and yeah, there's no, let me see. Yeah, there's no rabbet joint here or here, and there's one deck seam down the middle, and I'll cut that deck seam on the table saw just like I did this one here. And then there's 4 other pieces. Let me get those. I want to check that to see where that rabbet goes on this back plank. This plank fits up against there. Okay, so the rabbet joint is in this plank. So I don't have to run any rabbet joint along there. I'll cut and fit these planks here. And there's a little overhang on this here. And then the framework for the engine hatch goes in, and then there's 4 planks that go on that. So I wanted to make this video because someone who was watching my videos is redoing a boat like this, and he wanted me to make a video on how I cut these deck seams on the curved planks. So that's why I did it. So that'll complete the video on cutting curved deck seams. All right.